Okay, so when you want to harvest your fireweed flowers, basically you're going to look for your fireweed, which is this plant right here, and you're going to harvest just the flower portion of it, not the stem or anything else. Harvesting the flower is quite simple. You're just going to take your fingers and pinch off the flower from the stem. So all you're left with is the flower. And you're going to need 8 cups of fireweed flowers to make enough to make your jelly. And then you're going to give them a good rinse and make sure that there's anything out of them. If there's any stems or sticks or anything like that, you can make sure you take those out. Just kind of move it around a little bit. Okay, so in the pot we have 4.5 cups of water, 1/4 cup of lemon juice, and we are going to add our 8 cups of fireweed flowers, which we have washed and strained. So all of that goes into the pot. And then we're going to bring this to a boil and let it boil for about 10 minutes. So once you have everything boiled down and you've ready to strain it, so then you're going to take a bowl and a strainer and put some cheesecloth inside of it, and then we're going to take this and drain it into here until all of the juice is out. So you're just going to get all of the juices in there, squish it down a little bit, and then once it's cooled down a tiny bit, you can start to grab the cheesecloth and squeeze it so that you can get more of the juice out. So here you can see I'm just kind of slowly squeezing but be careful because it is very hot, so don't do it too much until it's cooled down a tiny bit more. And then underneath is where we have all of our juice that we're going to put back into the pot, and then add our pectin and sugar, and then go to the next step. So in this one we have the jars boiling, so we can sterilize all the jars and everything, so we can put our jam into it later. And then right now I've got this coming back to a boil so that I can add the pectin and the sugar. So this step is kind of one that you can't really leave it alone. You have to kind of stay here and just keep stirring and make sure everything is dissolving properly before you add more. So it's kind of a little bit at a time. Okay, so now that it's to a boil, we're going to add our 1 pack of pectin and just add it slowly and stir at the same time. And you basically want to keep stirring, and you only want to add a little bit at a time until it's dissolved, so that you don't burn anything on the bottom. So I'll just keep stirring this, and then I'll add the next pack of pectin, and then I'll start adding 1 cup of sugar at a time, again, so it doesn't boil and or doesn't burn the bottom. Okay, so now that we've got the pectin going, we're going to add sugar, kind of a little bit at a time, again stirring constantly until it's all dissolved. Now that we've got all the sugar added, we've brought it back to a rolling boil, and we're just going to keep stirring and keep it at a rolling boil for about 1 to 2 minutes. So now our next step, after we've let it simmer for the 1 to 2 minutes, you can see this kind of a foam on the top. So what we're going to do now is we will skim that off. And then once that's all skimmed off, we'll be able to put it into our jars and go on to the next step. Okay, so now we've got everything skimmed off, and we're going to start ladling it into our jars that we have had sealed or sterilized. And you want to leave a little bit of room at the top of the jar, so it's kind of like a little bit of headspace at the top of the jar. So now that we've got our jars filled and we've left a little bit of headspace, we're just going to take a paper towel and clean around the edge so that we can add our tops. So when you add your top, you're just going to put one on and just finger tight. You don't want these real tight. And then these are going to go back into the water bath canner for another 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so now we've got the cans back in the water bath. Once this comes up to a boil, we'll let it boil for 15 minutes. So once you take your fireweed jelly out of the water bath, you're going to let them cool down, label them with the date that you made them, and there you have your fireweed jelly.